with both Omega Planetes and Guardian Arkveld making their way into their respective worlds for the collaboration event between Monster Hunter Wilds and Final Fantasy XIV, one question remains. Are these collaboration events canon? Hey everyone, Cornapinoyx here once again, and today as you can see, we'll be taking a look at information surrounding the latest collaboration event between Monster Hunter Wilds and Final Fantasy XIV. Now, whether or not Omega savagely beating Hunters or Hunters savagely beating Omega is considered canon is currently up for debate. However, unlike the previous collaboration between Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy XIV, this time we actually have a timeline which we can follow to better understand how the events unfold that would lead to the arrival of Omega Planetes in the Forbidden Lands and Guardian Arkveld within Tural. So with that being said, let's first explore the chain of events that would lead to the collaboration between these two titles. So to get us started with the timeline, we'll be taking a look at what occurred within the Forbidden Lands according to the stray feline that was transported into Tural, so we'll be taking a look at 14 first. According to the Palico, they were investigating the territory of the Guardian Arkveld alongside their hunter. The territory in question is likely the ruins of Wyveria, as this is where the Guardians are spawned from. During their investigation, a spider-like thing spawned out of nowhere, and before they could identify what manner of being it is, one of the cocoons spawned a Guardian Arkveld. With both beings facing one another, an unavoidable clash for supremacy ensued. Just as the turf war between the two beings was about to conclude, Omega created a ring of light and the Guardian Arkveld vanished. The Palico and their Sacred were also caught in the light and eventually ended up in Tural. Stranded in new lands and no hunters to work with, the stray feline would eventually put up a quest to hunt the Guardian Arkveld, leading to the events of the collaboration within Final Fantasy XIV. Meanwhile, back in the Forbidden Lands, the wandering Woodwood, Rove, finds a mysterious artifact with a unique ability to speak in tones, yet understandable to those who hear it. With our hunter and Alma curious to learn more about the mysterious artifact, they explore the Ice Shard Cliffs where they find another artifact, but this time surrounded by small spider-like beings of mechanical origin. As they continued their investigation, they eventually run into a small artifact accompanied by what looked like a baby Sacred. With both the artifact and the Sacred getting themselves roved by a Nursula, our hunter eventually takes on the aberrant Temnoceran, which displays the unnatural ability to shoot lasers. After dispatching the abnormal creature, the group free the mysterious travelers and take them back to camp. Introducing themselves as Omega and Alpha, Omega states that they are travelers from a far-off land and have been traveling with a specific purpose. After introductions have been made, Omega explains that during their travels, they came across what can only be explained as an interdimensional rift, and through that rift, they saw a familiar being, the rogue Omega frame that clashed with the newly born Guardian Arkveld which the stray feline encountered previously. Leaping into the portal, Alpha and Omega eventually arrived into the Forbidden Lands, leading to the events of the collaboration within Monster Hunter Wilds.
Compatriot. Does that mean you,
Now what really makes this such a great collaboration compared to what happened back in World is that 14 actually acknowledges that Omega arrived within the Forbidden Lands, meaning that we have a direct link between the two games in terms of timeline and events. Alongside this, unlike the Rathalos, which didn't really have an explanation for arriving in Azim's Steppe, they provided details on how the Guardian Arkveld arrived in Torall. They even went as far as to provide info on the clash between the two collaboration creatures, further connecting the two worlds with one another by demonstrating how two ancient creations would fare against one another. So with all of this information in mind covering both titles, the main question once again is, are these collaboration events canon in both Monster Hunter Wilds and Final Fantasy XIV? Now right away, I'm going to say that it's currently hard to determine whether or not these collaboration events are indeed canon to the Monster Hunter series. And this is mainly due to the fact that when we look into external sources that talk about the lore of Monster Hunter, collaboration events are usually excluded from them. With the most prominent title for collaborations being Monster Hunter World, the book for this title excludes pages dedicated to both the Behemoth from Final Fantasy XIV and the Legends from the Witcher series. This would make people say that both monsters aren't canon, as we have no official acknowledgement of them with the world building of the series. Having said this, however, in the case of Final Fantasy XIV at least, Capcom does acknowledge the collaboration with the title to the point that they have a dedicated section talking about how they developed the Behemoth in order to evolve the experience for the 5th generation. Whilst this doesn't necessarily speak of the events happening in the game as canon, it does show that Capcom were looking into the collaboration as more than just a mere event in the game. With that detail in mind, I personally believe that there is some level of canonicity that Capcom acknowledges when creating their collaboration events, especially ones that include creatures from other titles. Now, this isn't the only reason why I believe this. Interdimensional travel has already been hinted at by the series back in Iceborne, with one particular individual theorized to be capable of traveling between dimensions and doing so frequently. I am of course talking about the Fatalis. Now, we're not going through the extensive details of the Fatalis and its dimensional travels, as I've already made a video about this topic previously. If you want to go ahead and check that out, link in the description and pinned comment below. However, what I will say is that with Wilds leaning heavily towards the topic of the ancient civilization, their history, and more importantly, their technology, then this is the perfect opportunity for Capcom to further talk about the topic of dimensional travel and utilize the collaboration event as a means to expand the lore of the ancient civilization within Wilds, and of course, the impact of such technology in the world of Monster Hunter. Outside the topic of dimensional rifts, both Wilds and 14 heavily refer to each other's lore during this collaboration, thereby strengthening the possibility of the events being canon to both titles. In the case of Wilds, the event covers the history of the Omega Frame's original purpose of being created for planetary conquest, and how the original Omega from 14 eventually became the Mini-Mega we meet in Wilds. In 14, the Stray Feline provides further information on the nature of the Guardians and how they don't need to feed, as well as referencing the characteristics of the tempered monsters found within the Forbidden Lands. Since Wilds respects the history of 14 regarding Omega, and 14 acknowledges details found on the Monster Field Guide, then it wouldn't be surprising if we learn that both Capcom and Square Enix consider the events of the collaborations canonical to both titles. Now overall, the nature of the collaboration's canonicity is still up for debate. However, with that said, there's no denying that more attention to detail was put into this collaboration compared to before, especially if we consider the canonical details of both Omega and Guardian Arkveld being acknowledged in the games in which they crossed over. Whether both Capcom and Square Enix consider their collaboration canon remains to be seen. Perhaps we may get more detail on this in Capcom's future book for Monster Hunter Wilds, but for now, what do you think about the latest collaboration event, and do you think it's canonical or not? Let us know your thoughts and opinions regarding the collaboration between Monster Hunter Wilds and Final Fantasy XIV. And as always, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider hitting the like on the video itself, leaving a comment down below, and subscribing to the channel so you can go ahead and catch up on any other content that I might be doing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.